Hey everyone, Anthony here. And if you're a Shopify brand that's looking to scale profitably in 2025, then make sure you stick around until the end of this video because in this video, I'm going to be teaching you how to master direct response creative strategy and scale to 8 figures in 2025. And just a little bit about me. Over the last 6 years, I've generated over $100 million in advertising revenue for Shopify brands. Here's just a couple of results that I've been able to generate. Scaled this brand from $70K a month to $915,000 per month. This brand from $96K a month to $842,000 per month. And the list goes on. Again, over $100 million in advertising revenue over the last 6 years, helping Shopify brands really scale and take their brand to the next level, to that 8-figure range, and sometimes even 9 figures as well. So here's what you're going to learn in this video: my current 8-figure creative workflow and frameworks step by step, how to conduct 8 hours of market research in 15 minutes using AI, even if you have no experience. And then lastly, we're going to go over proven frameworks to leverage in your creative strategy for 2025. And I'm literally going to give them to you at the end of this video. So that's another reason why you should stick around to the end. A few reasons why you should listen to me. So again, my name's Anthony Camacho. I've generated $121 million in ad revenue for Shopify brands. I've been fortunate to partner with some incredible brands like Manly Bands, Just Ingredients, and Last Crumb, to name a few. And I also personally founded my own brand to 7 figures per year in its first year back in 2022. So I've been in the space for a while, been on both the advertising side as well as on the brand side as well. So there's a lot that I've learned that I want to share with you in this video. Now, let's get into the actual video itself. So let's talk about the problem. So 95% of ecom people are looking for ways to create, quote, money printing ads to copy and just expect to get great results, mainly because a lot of beginners teach it. And a lot of the content that's on YouTube is curated towards beginners. Whereas the reality is if you're a brand that's doing, 50 to 100K a month, you're not a beginner. And you can't expect to get great results and the kinds of results that are going to propel you to 8 figures just by copying, from other people without really understanding the underlying principles of what makes a really good winning ad. So you're stuck in this cycle where you need to watch these videos and follow these people on Twitter and wait for them to release these pieces of content so you can figure out what ads you're going to create. When in reality, you should understand and focus on learning the underlying principles so you can create these ads on your own, and then you become the brand that everyone else copies from. And your second problem is probably that you have a couple of ads that are performing well, but you don't know what specifically about them is working and how to replicate that success to keep scaling. And that second portion is very important because even if you do have a couple of winning ads, unless you understand what about that particular ad is making it winning and successful in the ad account and allowing you to spend on that ad and generate a profitable ROI, unless you understand that, you're not going to be able to replicate that success and to create more instances of that in your account to be able to scale. And that's what the best 8-figure brands do, or rather the brands that are able to make that jump into 8 figures in the shortest amount of time is they understand what works well in the ad account, they know why, and they're able to replicate that success so they can keep scaling. But the deeper problems are that success on Meta looks different for every brand. And I've worked with brands that are happy to see a 1 return on ad spend in Meta. And if we're hitting a 1 return, they are extremely happy and we can keep scaling. So success on Meta looks different. And that's one of the major problems with a lot of these beginner pieces of content on YouTube is no one really talks about the nuances of what success actually looks like brand to brand. And so it's going to look different for you, which is why just copying and trying to replicate ads from one brand for your brand doesn't really work because the success metrics are going to vary completely differently than what you could be looking for with your brand. And secondly, the big shiny brands don't really need strong creative strategy to see a high ROAS. A lot of creative strategists, this might be controversial, they take, especially if they're partnered with high 8-figure and especially 9-figure brands, they will take a lot of credit for success in the ad account based on the creative strategy. When I will tell you from firsthand experience, having run ads for brands that are doing $100 million a year, literally anything that you put into the ad account will work. You can do statics, you can do carousels, you can do the most unedited piece of UGC content. You could literally do, if you could, like a piece of text, and you'll see 10, 15, 20x return on ad spends in the account, unless you're using maximum exclusions and a 1-day click. So the reality is that if you are watching creative strategy videos and you're watching content online and all of these examples or the different strategies are being curated based on the work that's being done in high 8-figure and 9-figure accounts, the simple truth is that those things that are working in that account more often than not do not translate to lower spend ad accounts because those brands can get away with much more. Last thing I'll say on this is I ran ads for a brand that did a collaboration with Whole Foods. So we were able to run ads with the Whole Foods logo and to announce this promotion and run this deal. And the return on ad spend in the ad account was like a 50x ROAS. So obviously, do I think the headline that I used and the unique value propositions was what did it? Or do I think it was the collab with Whole Foods and all I had to do was go build the ads? I'll let you decide. And then lastly, you can't just copy everything from your competitors and expect to get 8-figure ads. So I already touched on this, but essentially you can't just keep yourself in this cycle of needing to constantly copy without understanding what's working, because then you're not in control of how to scale your ad account. When you are dependent on copying everything from competitors, not only are you going to see worse results because you're copying things that, again, the success metrics could look wildly different and you have no clue whether or not those ads are actually driving the success that that brand wants. And the success that that brand wants is probably not the success that you want in your ad account either, but you're just reliant on copying. And so if that brand were to just, go bankrupt the next day, what would happen to your ad account? Would you still have creatives? Well, even if you are not copying as much as you think you are, you want to be able to have ideation and ingenuity to create your own ads. And that's when you really take control over your ad account. And that's when you really start to see success and be able to make that jump from 6 to 7 to 8 figures. Okay, cool. So now that we've covered some of the problems that you're probably running into, let's just quickly define what an actual creative is before we get into how to master creative direct response, because I think it's very important. When you want to achieve mastery, you really have to break things down into their most fundamental aspects. So a creative is simply the image or video portion of the advertisement. Obviously, your traditional Facebook ad is going to contain 3 main components, those being the creative or the image or video, the primary text, which is also referred to as the ad copy, and then the primary headline, which is the headline of the ad. And I would say 80% of the effectiveness of a Facebook ad can be attributed to the image or video. This doesn't mean that the text options aren't important. They are, and they absolutely can have a massive impact. But in terms of where should we put our focus on predominantly, it's going to be on the image or video, because we know irrespective of the placement, irrespective of how the audience is interacting with the platform, that is the thing that is going to take up the largest majority of the screen at the time that the user is scrolling. So we want to focus there. So this is just a quick example. Obviously, in this instance, this would be the image, this would be the primary text or ad copy, and then this would be the headline. Obviously, as you can see, in terms of screen real estate, what takes up the most, or the largest portion here. So that's why we want to focus there. And really quickly, the goal of the ad. So the goal of the ad is to persuade users on Facebook to go to our website and purchase our product, or in other words, it's to sell. So you can't make the mistake of thinking that the goal of the ads is to drive as much traffic as possible to the website in a vacuum. And you're going to see a lot of creative strategy videos really focus on these truly secondary and honestly irrelevant metrics, when in reality, the main way you should assess whether or not an ad is working for you or high performing is its ability to sell, or in other words, the efficiency at which it drives conversions to your business. Click-through rate, cost per click, hold rate, thumb stop. These are all good tertiary metrics to help you get more context into how the ad is, or rather the audience is interacting with the ad. And they're great at being able to turn insights from the ad account into actionable steps that you can use with your designers to be able to make improvements to an ad. But the end all be all goal of an ad is to sell people. Okay, so that is the primary performance metric we want to evaluate creatives on. And again, at its most fundamental core, the goal of your ad is to take these Facebook users who are on Facebook to do whatever they're there to do on Facebook, watch cat videos, doom scroll. And the goal of the ad is to interrupt that unconscious pattern, to captivate their attention, and then ideally take that attention, persuade them to click, go to the website, and eventually become a buyer. So when you kind of see this very fundamental breakdown of Facebook users here, and then the goal of the ad to turn those people into buyers, it really becomes evident that the quality of the clicks your ad drives is way more important than the efficiency or the cost effectiveness of the clicks. Because if those clicks are not turning into actual buyers and those people are not buying, then it doesn't matter how efficient your traffic is. It doesn't matter how strong your click-through rate is. You could have a 50% thumb stop. If those people are not buying, if the content is not producing enough of a psychological change to drive conversions in those users, then who cares, right? Because you only get paid when people convert, not when people click. Now, in terms of how social media platforms target you with content, this is very important to understand, because this is going to kind of, as we break this down, it's going to become very evident as to why content is the new way of targeting and why, or rather, how we can gain back control of our targeting when Facebook is becoming increasingly less reliable with its audience options and interests and lookalikes as a measure of targeting. So when you launch a piece of content, Facebook instantly scans it and makes an initial assumption as to who it should deliver the content to, right? That's why if you launch a new creative now, you're going to see that status preparing because that is Facebook literally telling you, I'm scanning your creative, I'm scanning your landing page, all the textual elements, the video, what's on the copy on the landing page, the URL, the types of content that's on the landing page, taking all of that into consideration. And then I'm going to make an initial assumption as to who the best people are to deliver this to based on my objective. So from Facebook's point of view, my objective, which is positive user experience and user retention, and then your objective, which is ideally optimizing for purchase. So Facebook wants to find the group of people that align those two goals the closest. And that is what's going to, that's what it's going to optimize for. So let's say Facebook delivers the content to an initial group of 1,000 people that it initially thinks will like the content and then convert. So if half the people do not like the content, let me change this, do not like the content, and the other 50% like it, in the next 1,000 people, Facebook's going to try more users to match the 50% who liked it. So you could take this example from a TikTok cat video, which is basically, imagine you have one group of users that as soon as that video scrolls on screen, they scroll away. So they do not watch the content, they don't engage with it, and through the speed at which they scroll to the next video, that is a signal to Facebook or TikTok that this user does not like this content. They're not engaging with that content. There's no way in hell they're ever going to purchase if they're not even willing to engage. We don't want any of those people. However, there's going to be a group of people that watch the full video twice all the way through, that leave a like, that leave a comment, that share the video with friends, which is great for the platform, and then they save the video as well. And that could be like thought of as the maximum level of positive engagement that you could show on a video. So obviously Facebook's goal, again, is to get more people or to show content that is most likely to give you a good experience and to keep you on the platform, and also the most likely to drive a conversion. So it's going to start to get an understanding of those types of people that do like the content. So, and as it does that, it's going to deliver to more and more people who like that content. And if we're just using common sense, would it really make sense for Facebook to deliver content to people that look the most like people who don't like the content? Probably not, because that's not in Facebook's interest and it's not in your interest either when you optimize for purchase. So let's say that 50% of people who do like that video, well, the other half are going to get a non-cat video because they just scrolled right away. But the other half, they're probably going to get another cat video, right? And on that cat video, they're going to watch the full video, leave a like, leave a comment, leave a share, save it. And then the algorithm goes, oh, he engaged and spent more time on the platform because of that video. And if you're running ads, he engaged, he spent more time on the platform, and he clicked to the website, and he made a purchase. So he's fulfilling both of our business objectives. And now the likelihood that that person gets another piece of content that's similar to the previous one increases, right? So your likelihood to get content that looks more and more like the previous content that you showed positive engagement on increases depending on the frequency. As the frequency goes up, that you're positively engaging with that type of content. And this is the exact same way the advertising side of Facebook works. And this process is repeated in perpetuity, which is why Facebook's targeting gets better over time, because it's learning the types of people, not only who like the content, but also make conversions. And it can continue to deliver to more and more people who match that optimal user profile, so long as you obviously leave the ads on and you're able to supply Meta with a large enough budget. So all that being said, now that we know that content and the way in which people engage with the content essentially is the filtering mechanism that determines what types of content gets served to them organically and both on the ad platform, that leads us into this concept of your ad does the targeting. And your ad, and especially your hook, is the primary targeting mechanism of the creative that essentially controls who your ads get shown to. So in this example, we have a brand, True Classic, 9-figure company that sells shirts. All 4 of these ads are from the same brand selling the exact same product, but you can see that the hook that they're using in the first 3 to 5 seconds speaks to totally completely different groups of people within their total addressable market. So you have this hook here, which is basically the first thing that you see is something about the price. So that's obviously going to speak to price conscious shoppers. You have this one here, which says this t-shirt is for men who hate shopping. So obviously they're trying to hook people in, particularly guys who dislike buying clothes. And then this last one, I feel ripped when I wear these shirts. I know I can appreciate when a shirt fits really well and accentuates my body really nicely. So that's obviously targeting guys who want to look jacked in their t-shirts. And notice how in the above, these are 4 ads for the same brand and the same product, but the hook speaks to entirely different types of people. This can also be referred to as the angle. I won't get into that or into the specifics of angles because that could be an entirely separate video, but just know that if you have a total addressable market, there's sub-markets within that total market that you can address simply by using the hook as essentially a filtering mechanism to control who your ad gets put in front of. So for example, if I sell a skincare anti-wrinkle product for women who are 45 plus and are just starting to wrinkle, knowing this, I'd want to target those people. If I'd want to target those people, I'd use the following hook in my creative. So hook, very simply, if you're over 45 and are fed up with wrinkles, stop scrolling. Now, obviously, if you're not a 40-year-old who's fed up with wrinkles, then you're going to keep scrolling. Like I know personally as a male in my young 20s, I know I would see that and just be like, okay, like obviously not for me. I'm going to keep scrolling. But I might show that to my mom who is thinking about, certain anti-aging products, or I might show it to like an aunt of mine who's thinking about anti-wrinkle products. And those are the types of people that are going to basically whoever identifies with the hook are the types of people that are going to stop and watch the content. And there's other ways to hook people in without being as direct. But the whole point of this exercise was to make it as blatantly obvious as possible as to how the hook is responsible for filtering out the types of people that get shown the content. Now, once you hook in the right person, and this is basically essentially how we control who our ads get put in front of. Once and only once the ads are in front of the right people, the rest of the ad is responsible for selling or persuading them to buy the product. So it doesn't really matter how persuasive your ad is or how good the rest of your ad is if you're not getting the right type of person to actually stop and watch the product. So if I'm selling an anti-wrinkle product for women who are above 45, and I have data to support that, 70% of my shoppers are women who are in their 40s, and I have maybe 2% of buyers who are men. Well, if my ads are getting shown in front of, let's say I go into my demographic breakdown and I see 80% of my ad spend is going to men, or I'm only targeting men who are in their young 20s. Doesn't matter how good my ads are, those people aren't going to buy, right? Because they're simply not the right types of people who are going to buy this product. Or like another example is, if I am a guy who is 50K in debt, I've got $1,000 to my name, and I walk into a car dealership, it doesn't matter how awesome the features are, although there are some predatory dealerships, but it doesn't matter how good the features are, how much you persuade me on the horsepower or the rest of the car. I'm not the person that's going to end up buying it. So it doesn't matter how good your sales pitch is or how good the car is. If I'm not the right person, then I'm not going to buy the product. And so you have to nail the hook. And then once you nail the hook, then you can start to think about the rest of the creatives. So I'm going to actually give you basically a 2-step framework that you can use to be able to, once you have decided that you want to actually put some ingenuity and you want to ideate your own creative strategy, the first step is to do the research. So basically the goal with this is to identify your customers' true desires and then leverage their psychological needs with hyper-targeted messaging to generate enough pain for them to take action. So I have a market research document here that you guys can use. It'll be linked underneath this video, but essentially what this is a way for us to, again, I did promise going back to the top, once we talk about that creative workflow and then the frameworks, how to conduct 8 hours of market research in 15 minutes with AI. So essentially what this is you fill out all this information, you put your brand name, your product, a link to your reviews, ideally 300, at least 5 YouTube videos on your product or market, 5 Reddit forums, and then 5 viral TikToks if you have them. Again, it can be for a similar product if you simply don't have these things for your own product. You're then going to pull this all into ChatGPT. And I have some prompts here. Wait, let me pull up the other sheet really quick. Let me go into my sheets. Where is it? Okay. Wrong Google account. Give me 1 second. There it is. Okay, cool. So here's what I basically call the 8-figure creative engine. And this is basically just a way for us to do that research. So once you have all of these reviews, very simply, you're going to feed in the reviews into ChatGPT using the following prompts, and they're literally in order and they tell you exactly what the prompts do. So prompt number 1 is just feeding it the research. Prompt number 2 is grabbing the main information, and the categories of that information, we're basically going to be able to pull the value propositions, the vast desires, the benefits of your product, the features that stand out, customer pain points, purchase prompts, desired outcomes, failed solutions, and objections. And then prompt number 3 is basically creating some audience personas that you can use to keep in mind as to the type of person that you're actually selling the product to. So once you complete all of that and you paste all the reviews and research into ChatGPT, you're going to end up with something that looks like this. And this is what we would call and refer to in creative strategy as your brand's audience one sheet. And it's basically a sheet that houses and contains all of the information that anyone would ever need to know, the most critical information that anyone needs to know in order to create really strong creative strategy that sells. So we have here all of the categories and then all of the answers to those categories here as well. And you can also see that the number of times that this is mentioned in the reviews is noted here as well. And the prompt is engineered to do that. So that way you see not only in order of what is most frequently occurring, but you're also able to see then what are the largest mass desires? What are the largest benefits? What are the most prominent features? What's the biggest pain point, right, that people have? So that way you can focus in order and prioritize the things that are showing up the most, and then either deprioritize or, explore some of these other under-tapped potentially pain points and purchase prompts and things like that. And you'll also be able to pull in, I just did it for example here, specific reviews that will pair with each of the items and answers per category. That way you can see not only evidence that actually exists in the reviews, so ChatGPT is not making anything up, but then you'll also be able to see how your audience is and how your audience describes these things in their own language. So your customer is probably not going to say, oh, I really want a pain-free hair removal at home with cooling technology. They're probably going to say something like, the cooling technology made it completely free. Unlike waxing, always hurts so much. Like there's different nuances and ways that your audience actually speaks. And if you can communicate all these things in their own language, it's going to come off as really authentic, and that's really going to hook them in. So once you have all of this research done, you can start to create actual creatives that leverages all of these different things. And we'll get into the actual frameworks here now, and some of these proven frameworks that you can leverage in your creative strategy in 2025. So this is what I call fast track ads, and I did not coin this term. It's from another prominent direct response creative strategist in this space, but I really like this idea of fast track ads because usually most brands are just simply losing out on quantity of tests and just not rolling out enough. So the goal with these frameworks that you're going to see is what are the highest leverage, most powerful frameworks that you could inject into your ad account that are going to take the least time but also have the biggest impact. And I would start pretty much every single account that I ever take over with these formats that you're going to see in the rest of this video. So these are also the most effective for scaling, which is why I like to launch product tests or creative tests using a few different variations of these. Okay, starting with number 1, the raw single take UGC. I literally had one of these pieces of content earlier this year take an account from $1,000 a month on Shopify to $70,000 a month. And it was literally off the back of one raw single take unedited UGC. It wasn't even any subtitles. It was like a minute long of just a raw take with no subtitles. And what this looks like is basically a single person talking directly to their phone, often in their home environment, showing the product in a very casual and unpolished way, ideally without a tripod either. Like you want it to almost be like someone's just, you want it to be like almost someone's just like recording it, like moving around, like, or, selfie style, just kind of like, hey, what's up guys? I just found this new thing. And then them kind of showing it like with the camera moving. Like most people don't, unless they're content creators, don't have like tripods and then set something up and then do a review. Like that's a very creative thing to do. Whereas a raw single take UGC is really going to look like, you literally filming like, okay, this is what I'm trying to show you. This is what I just bought. It's amazing. I love it. Blah, 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 blah. So that works really well. Just authentic commentary. Like don't overthink it. Typically 30 to 60 seconds long. Obviously make it relevant to the product, speak to the benefits, the value propositions, how it's changed your life, etc. In terms of action steps, this is instructions for people who are like, actually have like larger TikTok accounts or larger brands at this point. So multi 6 or 7 figures. that want to scale to 8, they usually have organic TikTok videos or organic content they can use. And you can usually just download that and do a direct upload and then slightly modify it with a new hook. But honestly, you don't even need to do that. If not, you yourself as the founder can easily take a video of the product and just roll with that. I will say that this is usually best for clothing, beauty, health, and skincare. This is where I see it work the most. I would say tech and pain relief are probably two where, actually pain relief, I could probably see a piece of content like that. Pain relief works really well, especially on Facebook with longer format style VSLs, problem solution frameworks, things like that. So you can really like twist the knife. So I could see that working, and definitely tech is a little bit hard to get right with this, but pretty much every other niche is good to go. So minimal editing, few cuts, single person, no fancy effects or B-roll. You want it to feel very raw, filmed on iPhone, and don't even run it with music. Okay. Second framework is going to be the UGC mashup. So it's basically take your raw single take UGC. Ideally, you have anywhere from 3 to 4 of those, and you're just going to do a quick paste compilation of people talking about the same product. Clip is anywhere from 5 to 10 seconds long, and then often includes a mix of close-up product shots and reaction shots with subtitles for accessibility. Very simple, same instructions. Just take a mashup of all the videos that you have that are raw single take UGC, put them into a mashup compilation. I see this work really well, especially if you have like reactions to your product, or if your product is one that can have reactions. For example, within the shapewear niche, a really popular creative format is a UGC mashup of women showing what they look like in the shapewear to their boyfriends for the first time. And then the guys just have this like really crazy reaction to seeing their girlfriends in the shapewear. And they'll do like a compilation of like 3 to 4 of those. And I'll see that just take off and really scale accounts like crazy. So same action steps. If you have your product on TikTok, you can save a few review videos. If not, just take those raw single take UGCs and throw them into a compilation. Okay. Third framework is going to be what we call the static testimonial. Very simple. You could easily create this in Canva in like 5 minutes. You take a clean, simple image of your product, and then you do an eye-catching headline, ideally one that is coming from your customers and is in their language. So I have 2 examples here. Obviously this one, my husband is 60, but he feels like he's 30. And then this one, the only shampoo that ended my dandruff battle. In terms of the rest of the creative, like as you can see, this one's an us versus them. This one's just a features point out. So there's different ways that you can go about the rest of the image, but 80% of your focus on a static testimonial is going to be done on this main headline here. And ideally, if you're using the 8-figure creative engine, you can go back into that same prompt and basically tell ChatGPT, okay, look through these reviews, find the ones most suitable for a Facebook ad headline, and then give me that in the customer's language. And then you take that, use that as a headline, features point out, us versus them, multiple ways. You could even just do the headline. You don't even have to do a features point out. You could literally just do a headline and a really nice product image or a piece of UGC, and that is good to go. Okay. Last framework that we're going to get into is the static headline plus benefits. So this is a very, very simple creative format. It's pretty much the exact same thing as this one, where the only major difference is that we're just going to leverage a very bold headline at the top. And then this one I usually would recommend with 3 to 4 key benefits, because you're not leveraging a customer testimonial that can kind of carry the rest of the creative. So a couple of different examples here. Obviously, this one is, F office dress codes, and then they have a few different value propositions that speak to things that people who don't like wearing, business casual or whatever can agree with. This one's bye bloating, and then a features point out. This is a very native style version of all of these creatives. So this one's poop proof your car. It looks like something that someone posted on Instagram, like in their story. And so you obviously have these really polished creatives, but don't be afraid to get really native and ugly with your creatives too. And then lastly, we have this one from Obvi. Obvi is probably the best brand to replicate in terms of statics because they produce so many of them. But again, remember one of the points in this video, which is that they are one of those big shiny brands where they just are at such a massive scale to where meta is no longer the tip of the spear. And so you want to be careful with just copying them one-to-one. But in terms of design, in terms of them actually executing the framework, they're one of the best at static headlines. They just do it so well, and they know their audience so well as well. In terms of action steps to create this, it's very simple. It's the exact same way you do the third framework. The only thing is you're not going to ask for actual testimonials, and you're going to try to keep it to 5 words or less, so you can really have it. Notice in all of these, they're about 4 words or less, so you can really have it hit hard and cut through the noise. So that is going to do it for this video. That is how to master direct response creative strategy and scale to 8 figures in 2025. And so by the end of this video, you're going to have access to obviously all the information that we just covered in terms of my personal creative workflow, the framework step-by-step, how making good content actually controls your targeting. You're also going to have access to this sheet as well that's going to allow you to do 8 hours of market research in 15 minutes using AI. And then I've given you now, at this point, 4 proven frameworks to leverage in your creative strategy for 2025 that ideally is going to be fueled by the unique insights and actionable insights that you get from the product research and the market research that ideally you do before you actually start executing. So as a quick recap, once you understand how content works inside of Facebook and the goal of the content and how the content controls the targeting, your next step is to do the actual research using the market research document that's linked underneath here. And then step 2 is to create the ads themselves, starting first with these 4 proven frameworks. And in future videos, I'll go over way more frameworks that you can use that are a little bit more salesy, that are particularly for video ads to give you guys a little bit more firepower in the ad account. But these 4, when you do the right research and you have really dialed in messaging that's unique and specific to your audience, these 4 frameworks can easily scale your ad account to 8 figures so long as you do the research and you actually put in the work to take that research and have it manifest in the creatives themselves. So that is going to do it for this video. That is how you master direct response in 2025 and scale to 8 figures. Now, if you are interested in having me run your ads and do all of this for you, then there should be a link in the description. I basically just opened up spots for one-on-one consultations to be able to partner with me directly to have me run your ads for you and to be able to create the ads for you as well. So if you're interested in having me running your ads and partnering with me, then check out the first link in the description. There should be a button there where you can schedule a call and we can jump on one, see if we're a good fit. You're not going to speak to a salesperson or a closer or a setter or whatever. You'll speak with me directly and we'll see if we're a good fit. Otherwise, hope you got a ton of value out of this. This took me a while to record and excited for the new year. Make 2025 the year for scaling. This is a brand new channel that I've started for providing value to e-commerce brands on Facebook ads, creative strategy, finance, creative, all that good stuff. So if you're interested, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe. It really helps out with the algorithm. Otherwise, hope you got a ton of value out of this. Can't wait to start putting out more videos every single day in 2025 and providing even more value. And that's going to do it for this video. I will catch you in the next one. Peace.